huge thank you to Squarespace for supporting the channel and sponsoring today's video. One of the biggest aspects of the Pokemon games that is really fascinating and really gets you hooked, at least in my experience anyway, are the hidden secrets of the games and the thought of what could be in the game just waiting to be uncovered. Feeling like you could come across some secret Pokemon if you explored around enough is one of the best qualities of the Pokemon games, and today we are going to be uncovering some secret Pokemon that you probably have never heard of before. These Pokemon all come from various sources, but all have connections to the main series games, so they are about as legit as you can possibly get. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and check them out. The first Pokemon on this list is the original form of Magikarp. Yes, you heard me right, Magikarp has a second form that you've never seen before, and that's because no one has seen it yet. To this point, this second form of Magikarp has only ever been mentioned. Some of Magikarp's Pokédex entries talk about how in the distant past, Magikarp was actually stronger than the famously weak Pokemon that we know today, and it gradually evolved into this pathetic form we know and love over time. Now, I don't know about you, but I have got to see what this different, stronger form of Magikarp looks like. Based on the Pokédex entries, it's not like it would be a baby Gyarados or anything in terms of its strength, but the prospect of a second Magikarp form, and an ancestral form at that is actually competent from a strength perspective that also canonically exists that we've never seen before, is super duper fascinating. Maybe with Pokemon Legends Arceus coming out soon, and with it being set in the distant past, we could possibly see this early Magikarp form for real. I certainly hope so, because there is certainly some opportunity there to make it happen, and it would be a great way to unveil this second secret form of this very iconic Pokemon. In addition to Pokemon mentioned in Pokédex entries, we're also going to be covering some Pokemon that have been lost to time, namely some cut Pokemon. Now, I have obviously covered a bunch of cut Pokemon over the years, but the ones I'm covering today are ones that seldom get mentioned, if they ever get mentioned at all, so there's a good chance that you've never heard about them before. This first one is a bit of a different situation in this category though, and that is the mystery of Egg and Chick. Egg and Chick are a pair of unused text strings from the internal data of Pokemon Red and Blue that sit alongside other unused text that mentions the existence of things like unused gym badges and possible scrapped trainer classes, meaning that it was somehow considered to be included in the games at one point. However, it's not known exactly what Egg and Chick were truly meant to be, so it's unknown if they would have even been Pokemon at all, but it is thought that it could have somehow been related to an early version of the Pokemon Egg concept, with the Chick possibly being a baby Pokemon of some kind that hatched out of the aforementioned egg. The idea of Pokemon hatching from eggs has been around since the series was known as capsule monsters, well before the first games even came out. So again, it's possible that this could have been Red and Blue's attempt at illustrating that idea in the games before full-on breeding came into the picture in Generation 2. Next up, why don't we talk about a big one, like for instance how Shuckle was originally going to have an evolution. Yeah, that's right, one of the most iconic unevolved Pokemon ever was originally going to have an evolution right out of the gate in Generation 2. Although no sprite or artwork for this Shuckle evolution is currently known about, according to cut content website The Cutting Room Floor, there is data present within one of the many leaked builds of Gold and Silver's beta that specifies a Shuckle evolution. Specifically coming from a build dated in 1999, which was the same year that the final games released, this evolution of Shuckle has its stats specified as well as its typing, which was rock ground, just like Shuckle was at an earlier point in development. It also has evolution data stating that it was intended to evolve from Shuckle at level 22. Unfortunately, we don't know any more about this Pokemon at this time, but given that it was present in a build of the games that comes from the same year that Gold and Silver were released, and is just a few months prior to that release date in fact, this Shuckle evolution seems to have been scrapped at the last second. Another scrapped Pokemon that is very interesting is one that we can only infer about, but it's also one that we know existed at some point, and that is the original box art legendary for Pokemon Silver. In the final release of the games, Lugia dons the cover of Silver version, but this wasn't always planned, because Lugia didn't come into the picture until fairly late into Gold and Silver's development, and it wasn't even Game Freak who was responsible for it. Lugia was created by the original head writer of the Pokemon anime, Takeshi Shudo, specifically for the second movie, The Power of One, and he was only able to do something so groundbreaking like this thanks to the creative freedom that he was afforded by the success of the first Pokemon movie, which he also wrote, which is all according to Shudo himself on his personal blog. So, since the success of the first Pokemon movie is what allowed for the creation of Lugia, and the movie didn't release until July of 1998, we can deduce that Lugia was not created until sometime after July of 98, which is only a little over a year before Gold and Silver officially released. This is in huge contrast to the other box art legendary of Gold and Silver, Ho-Oh, who had officially been revealed and created shortly after Pokemon Red and Blue's release all the way back in 1996, 2+ years before Lugia would have came into existence. So, given that Silver version existed long before Lugia was even conceived, there very likely was another Pokemon who was intended at some point to be the box art legend for Pokemon Silver. At this point, however, we have no idea what Pokemon this could have been definitively. It is possible, however, that it could have been this Pokemon that was intended for Gen 2 and was present in one of the later builds of the games, but was ultimately scrapped. This is not only because it seems like a Pokemon that could be legendary in nature, but also because it sits right next to Unknown and Ho-Oh in the internal index list for the Pokemon of the build that it features in. This is just speculation, however, so Silver version's original box art legendary may have been this Pokemon, but it may have also been something else entirely that we don't have any idea about currently. The mystery of what Pokemon could have originally been intended for this role, however, is really fascinating. The Sinnoh region from Generation 4 introduced a bunch of evolutions to previous Pokemon, and we have since learned, thanks to leaks, that some of these Pokemon, like Tangrowth and Licky, were originally planned for Gen 2. However, a couple more of these Sinnoh evolutions were originally intended for Gen 2 as well, but have been buried under all the other information from the various Gold and Silver leaks, and thus haven't really been discussed that much. These Pokemon in particular would be Yanmega and Swine, or as they are referred to in these Gen 2 beta builds, simply evolutions of Yanma and Piloswine. These two are the same as the previously mentioned Shuckle evolution in that there is only internal data present for these two, and no kind of sprite or artwork is known about at this time. They also assuredly weren't Yanmega and Mamoswine exactly, but they are most likely what inspired those two. In the case of the Yanma evolution, it seems like it barely made it into the games at all before it was scrapped. According to its data, which again is courtesy of the cutting room floor, it didn't really have any stats that weren't placeholders at this time, and the only real unique thing about it that we know is that it was going to evolve from Yanma at level 10, which is obviously very low for an evolution, but does fit with it being a bug type. Meanwhile, the Piloswine evolution got a little farther along in its development, even being given its own cry, which sounded like this. Additionally, unlike the Yanma evolution, this Piloswine evolution also had its own custom base stats, and was intended to evolve from Piloswine at level 42. This was eventually changed though, and as of August of 1999, according to the beta build it appears in, it evolved from Piloswine at level 30 instead. With this Pokemon still being tweaked just 3 months before the release of the games, it was another very late scratch from Gold and Silver, and it makes you wonder what would prompt such a last-second scrapping of a Pokemon, both from Gold and Silver and just in general. Speaking of these Sinnoh evolutions though, this next entry concerns yet another one, and this time it's Magnazone. However, this is not a case of Magnazone being intended for Gen 2 or anything like that. Instead, it concerns an evolution of Magnazone. Now, you might be saying to yourself right about now that that's impossible, because Magnazone is already a 3rd stage Pokemon, but according to the Pokédex, there is one that existed, or at least, that was the plan. According to Magnazone's Pokédex entries, there was a group of people who tried to use science to make Magnazone evolve, but their attempt ultimately resulted in failure. Now, while the failure of this experiment technically means that this Pokemon doesn't exist, it implies that it could, and it would be amazing to actually see a Magnazone evolution similar to Porygon Z, where it's the result of a failed experiment and it just looks all strange and maybe even deformed as a result. This would also be a great concept for a Mega Magnazone, and could even be a cool way to explore the concept of Pokemon evolving past a 3rd stage, which has been on the minds of fans as an idea since the very beginning of the series. So who knows, maybe these Pokédex entries will serve as inspiration for an actual Magnazone evolution someday. Next up is even more from the cut content of Generation 2, because that is the gift that just keeps on giving. This time, it concerns both a pre-evolution and an evolution for Girafarig. Girafarig's pre-evolution is one of the more notable cut Johto Pokemon due to the fact that it has a rather unique look to it, being 2 ghosts conjoined together, and also because it doesn't really look anything remotely like Girafarig at all. However, after the reveal of this Girafarig pre-evolution, came the reveal of another pre-evolution that has largely been swept under the rug, due to the fact that we only have access to its back sprite. It appears to have been a replacement for that previous ghost-based evolution, and looks much more like Girafarig in general, appearing literally like a baby form of the Pokemon. And it was also much more in line with Girafarig's final design, being the same type and also being set to evolve into Girafarig at level 24. When it comes to the evolution of Girafarig, it is unfortunately another one of these cut Johto Pokemon whose internal data is all we have to go by. It does have a custom set of base stats though, and interestingly was going to be a Ghost Normal type, a type combination which still to this day hasn't been officially used. It was also going to evolve from Girafarig at level 34, and was present in the games, according to the data, as of April 3rd of 1999, making it yet another late cut from the final product. Following that up is one that you may have actually heard about thanks to recent events, but it was virtually unknown up until just a little while ago. Thanks to the work of Did You Know Gaming, a very early official Pokédex book has been unearthed and translated, which has revealed that Nidoran male and female actually have pre-evolutions. Well, sort of. While they obviously don't appear or are even mentioned in the games, the book discussed and even shows an illustration of these baby Nidoran, and it also explains how Nidoran female can breed, but Nidorina and Nidoqueen can't, which does show up in the actual games. Additionally, there is also a mysterious fourth form of the Nidoran families that is present in Pokemon Red and Green's recently leaked beta. And while it's not known what it is supposed to be specifically, given this information we now have about these Nidoran pre-evolutions, it's possible that they might have been planned for the games after all. So you guys know that talking about cut Pokemon content is what I love to do, but it wouldn't be possible without the support of people like today's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is a powerful service where you can create your own website for absolutely anything you need. No coding experience is required. Once you've created a website, you can connect with your audience, generate revenue through gated members-only content, easily manage your members, send email communications, leverage audience insights, and more, all on one easy-to-use platform. So go to squarespace.com and check it out with a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/hoops to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. So there you have it, everyone, 10 secret Pokemon you probably hadn't heard of before today. Did you actually know about any of these Pokemon yourself though? And which one would you like to see for real the most? Let me know in the comments below, and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll be back with another one very soon, and until then, as always, thank you guys for watching, I love you very much, and I will smell you guys later.